43% of Federal Bank employees are women. And that is the largest percentage. That is the largest percentage for any organization. And over the next few hours, we're going to hear from the leaders of Federal Bank on how they have achieved this. I mean, when you think about it, for a company to have nearly half of its employees being women, how do they retain them? How do they manage attrition? We just heard a real life story of a wife who had to step away from her career to make her husband's career possible. How has Federal Bank achieved this? That's one of the things that we are going to hear from their leaders as they come on to stage. So we have a very, very special panel that I'm going to introduce, and a moderator as well who has written a book called Equal Yet Different. Is it time to move from talking about gender equal to gender friendly? How do you move beyond stereotypes? How does an organization like Federal Bank achieve a 43% female employee status that, you know, what can other organizations learn from it? Are women bosses still stereotyped? There's so much to talk about. And I'm just going to actually call for the guests, the speakers to come first, and then I'll introduce the moderator. So I'll just call out the names because there are 5 people on this panel, and I just want to call all of them out. Lakshmi Potluri, if we can please have Lakshmi on stage. There she is. It's great to see you. It's great to see you.
Columbia alum.
I know. Lakshmi and I are both from Columbia, and we were just. Thank you. Any thoughts about what you've heard so far before we introduce our other?
Should I take the other mic?
Okay.
Oh, thank you. No, so I've had the pleasure of listening to several sessions. Of course, the most current is the last 2 sessions, how men also are subject to conditioning, and Vidya Balan's session post-lunch. I've been very, very touched with the conversations. They're hitting the nail on the head, and I'm also seeing that a lot of the audience are, children who can take away so many of the lessons. We never had some of these opportunities, to learn and listen to people who've gone through a journey. And of course, I think I could relate to loving yourself a lot. Especially as women, I think we tend to be very compassionate towards others, but self-compassion is something I've seen in my experience that most of us deny our own selves.
Well, have a seat.
Thank
We're
you.
ready for the panel now. I'm just going to introduce the other guests. Rohini Iyer, if we can have Rohini Iyer on stage. Rohini Iyer, you've seen so many big actors on the stage today. If there is a brain behind all of those brilliant actors, it is my friend Rohini. She is many things. She runs her own media, publicity, communication company, and a lot of the reasons that the big stars are here today are because of Rohini. So say a special thanks to Rohini. And now let me get out our 3 corporate leaders. It is my great honor, please put your hands together, to welcome on the stage Tanushree Garg, Rathnamala, and Alpna Gupta. We have 2 leaders from Federal Bank and 1 leader from Maersk joining us. Let me say hello to all of you. Thank you so much. Welcome. Welcome. All right, just and on the sorry. And let me introduce our moderator today, the author of a new book called Equal Yet Different. This is one of the classic questions of our time. Is female leadership different from male leadership? Can some companies, we've been giving the Federal Bank example, do things that other companies can learn from? Is a female boss still stereotyped? Is leadership gender neutral? So much to unpack here. Please put your hands together for our moderator for this session, Anita Bhogle. We can have Anita on stage. Hi Anita, good to see you.
Thank you so much. This is an adult session. All the kids have left. Okay, thank you so much for the invitation, and we are looking forward to a great conversation. Okay, let me start with asking you, how many people have bosses or have heard or have had bosses in the past? Nobody else? Everybody else is self-employed? I mean, other than the kids. Yeah. So almost everybody, right? So when you say boss, what is the image that comes to your mind? Yeah, but what is the persona that comes through? Gray, middle-aged, khadus? right? Male. Male, right? Because the default leadership model is male. So we now have a situation where, you know, women comprise about 25 to 30% of the batch in B schools. And we are going to discuss about careers and business and women in business. So they comprise 25 to 30%, which is a pretty healthy number now. And yet we find that women in leadership positions are in absolute single digits. So that is really a problem that we kind of face. Even in the pandemic, you know, a lot of women quit their careers. And they were all professionally qualified women like us. So that is very sad. And during the pandemic, I wrote my book, as Barkha mentioned. It's called Equally Yet Different, because I truly believe that, you know, as professional women, we are equal on ability and on ambition, which is why we went through the grind, we qualified, right? But we are different in terms of the challenges that we face and the way women are conditioned. So Equally Yet Different is the title I selected. And I truly believe that that's the way women want to be treated, and women need to be treated at home and at work. So today, I'm particularly happy that I have this panel of 5 lovely and strong women. And lovely and strong are words that sit very comfortably with each other. Make no mistake. Yeah. So I'm going to ask them, they are all super women. I'm going to ask them, I'll throw my first question at them. How has your journey towards becoming a boss or a leader been? Has it been, you know, happy, not so happy, challenging, compromise, successful, fulfilling? How was it? Should we start with you, Ratna?
Yeah. See, definitely the first experience as a boss was not so easy. It's not a cakewalk. I don't think that made anything, that has anything to do with me as a woman, but it is more because you have been an individual performer and you are responsible for your own work, and suddenly you become responsible for others' actions, and you tend to either micromanage or protect or completely on the other side. So that way it took some time, but then what after actually, in fact, during that course, what I've realized is, I also had, because of maybe the inherent nature of me being a woman, I could also had a open conversation. I still remember my first reportee when I became a boss. I was obviously doing a lot of micromanagement, and the person was feeling suffocated. Maybe because of my nature as a woman, so I could call her and had an open conversation. Why is this happening? Why is it not working well between us? So then she mentioned to me, actually, I'm feeling a little suffocated that you are over-managing, and micromanaging. Then, I actually then started taking a step back, and that conversation actually, smoothened the relationship so perfectly. And that was like I never had to look back as a boss. I think today, I can say that at least, I have very good relation with team, but also I also mean business, which is what they themselves have acknowledged many times.
So it's been really a learning process for you.
Right, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Tanushree,
Yeah. I'll say it's a roller coaster.
just hold the mic close. Yeah.
Is it audible now?
It's been a roller
Okay.
coaster.
It's a roller coaster, right? You learn every day. You learn from your peers. You learn from your team. It's fun when things are going well. During the time of ambiguity, that's when the rubber hits the road, because that's when you have to keep yourself motivated, but then you're responsible for keeping everybody else around you
Does gender
motivated.
make a difference?
Yeah, I don't think gender makes a difference. And each leader has their own leadership style. I don't think gender comes in play there. Most of the
So
time...
would you say that there are just good leaders and bad leaders?
Sorry?
There are just good leaders and bad leaders, not male and female leaders.
I would agree to that, right? It's... When I am on the floor or when I am with the team, I'm not there as a female leader or as a male leader. I'm there as a leader for the team. Now, if somebody sees me as a female leader, that's in their head and not in mine, right? And because, I'm not there that I'm going to do this as a female leader while a male leader will do something else, right? So I would not say gender makes a difference there. It doesn't.
I completely agree. I feel you should leave your gender at home when you go to work. neither should you feel entitled, nor should there be any discrimination against you. Rohini.
Hi everyone, this is Rohini Iyer and it's a pleasure to be here. This conclave is like home for me. It's one of the most inspiring places where you can learn, and I'm happy to see everyone here. Big hello to everyone. Okay, you just asked me what being a boss means, or what my journey has been.
How's the journey been? Has it been easy,
so
difficult?
Firstly, I won't call myself a boss because I think a boss is someone who tells you what to do, tells the employees what to do. A leader is someone who inspires them to do it. So I want to be a leader, and I've always aspired to be one, and trying to be there, trying to get better as each day comes. The journey, well, it's been crazy. Like I always say, I'm always looking to manage crises, or I'm always looking to see where is the fire and where can I help. It's almost like being a superhero. When I was growing up, I never wanted to be Cindrella. I never wanted Prince Charming to come and, come in this big carriage and give me a glass slipper and rescue me. I mean, a lot of the girls here, I'm sure, are thinking the same. I always wanted to be Wonder Woman in combat boots and make sure that I'm a superhero who saves the day, or maybe a Wonder Woman who saves the day. That's what I do.
Have you ever been reminded of your gender, or you chose to be the Wonder Woman and reminded yourself?
I just wanted to be, like they say, I wanted to be a hero, and always. And why not be your own hero? Why not change the ending? The princess always saves herself. That should be the ending.
Okay, yeah, of course.
Thank you, Anita, for the great question. And I want to thank everyone for patiently listening to me. Very happy to be here. And so coming back to the question, I started off as a leader straight from being an associate at Goldman. So for me, it was actually a lot of learning and unlearning. I had never led a team before I started as a founder at Jabong. So I had not worked in India, I had not led a team, I had not been in retail. So there was a lot of learning. And I had to leave a lot of what I'd already learned living in the US. For example, I was always used to being a very direct person, and I realized that there's something I have to change the way. Being direct is not wrong, but the way a Western American style of direct is really different from how you have to discuss feedback and be very constructive. So that was one of the biggest takeaways, but I've always also left gender outside the boardroom, and never let that dictate. But there are instances where you are seen as a woman, and that has changed the behavior of, in fact, some of the women co-workers in my experience. So that's something that I have seen and learned, and also figured out how to handle different personalities. But the bottom line is, at the end of the day, there are good leaders and bad leaders, and I think a good leader will figure out how to even handle some of these biases that we face. And it is something I have encountered.
Yeah, it's interesting you spoke about learning, right? And a lot of learning comes from, talking to other people or learning from other people. And typically, I think women fall short a little bit because they are not that well networked, or they are slightly inhibited and awkward. And so, how did you manage that? Maybe you didn't have that problem, but
no, so actually I wasn't so well networked because my network was very different industry outside. So that is one of my biggest takeaways, that I needed to build a network of friends, network of peers who will give me more open, honest inputs where I can also be bare and give all the facts as they are. I don't have to sugarcoat stuff, because there's also, I carried an imposter syndrome for a long time. And, I don't want to expose my vulnerabilities. So I had to overcome a lot of that to learn.
Yeah, interestingly, even in my book, I found that women leaders find it very difficult to say, I don't know. And the way the world is going, there are many, many occasions when women have to say, or any leader has to say, I don't know, I'm not sure of the answer. Maybe I should think about it or figure it out. And somewhere women, anyway, because they feel inadequate in a way, the imposter syndrome, they find it very difficult to say, I'll get back to you on this.
Yep, I dealt with a lot of that. It took me a while to get over all of this.
Alpna.
Yes. Thank you, Anita. Good afternoon to all of you. I must congratulate the team that we are discussing this topic for women to play a pivotal role in this emerging economy. I'm Alpna, working with Federal Bank, and I'm leading a team of approximately 200 people. But the best part about my team is it is 50% women in the team. So this is sort of rare, where the bank's average is 42%, it is 50% in my region. Sheer fact that we are discussing this topic, being the boss, women mean business, says that we have traveled a bit. Because there were cliche topics on Women's Day, gender bias, breaking the glass ceiling, and equal opportunity. So I must say this is out of syllabus question for me. I would start by saying I had very supportive parents and siblings. So did not face any challenge just after completing my education MBA. I looked for a job in a bank and got it. I had cleared the exam and the process, and so it was not that difficult as you expected to be. After that, after working for some time when I got married, thankfully I got a supportive family there as well. So the challenges started when I had my children. I had a son who was 2 years old when my twins were born. So at a point of time, it was like triplets at home in early 30s. When my career started shooting up, at that time, I had the maximum responsibilities at home. So I faced difficulties, yes, and when the men were going for promotions, I was thinking, no, I need to hold back. But with the support of the family, I went through and I never missed any opportunities. My organization gives equal opportunities, and it is a safe environment, and that is what my family knew. What helped me was building strong support system at home, because we the women think that job and home cannot go along. It's not that case. You need to build strong support system at your places, be it your in-laws, relatives, neighbors, even support of the neighbors is very important, because they are the first point.
It's an interesting thing that, only women are asked about work-life balance.
Because we are the primary caregiver, that was the challenges we faced.
Yeah, yes, Alpna, you said that you were lucky that 50% of your team was women. Is that because you are a diversity champion, or do you think it's easier to manage women? Because I've had women tell me that having a woman boss is difficult for the men, and the women also find that it's kind of, difficult to hold their own position.
My team can say it better, and having 50% women is not my choice. But I don't know, maybe they prefer working with me and put a choice over there. So I'm taking this on me. But yes, I would say that working with women boss, I think is not difficult. That is the kind of feedback I am getting it from my team. They say I am a go-to person. So what additional values
come back to leadership styles. Yeah, we'll come back to leadership styles. Tanushree, I want to ask you a question. You are in technology, right? And typically, we don't have enough women in technology. So do you feel that it's a place where equal opportunities are available? Or do you believe there's a glass ceiling? Or is the glass ceiling real? Or is it more an issue of self-selection?
So maybe 10 years back, probably there was a concept of glass ceiling in technology, but looking around me, looking where our company is going, I would say glass ceiling is being broken, and it's being broken time and again. The challenges, yes, there are challenges. To your earlier point where you were talking about ability to tell the team that I don't know the answer, and being vulnerable about it, I would say things have changed, right? Today, when I don't know the answer, or maybe a lot of times I don't know the answer.
What has changed according to you?
Maybe the command and control leadership, which was considered as the way of working in the past, right? The next generation male leaders are also moving a little bit towards transformational leadership, and not necessarily just the command and control leadership. So when I look around me, there are more male leaders who are moving towards participative leadership, a little bit of transformational leadership, and they do tend to go back to the executive decision model.
But why do you still have a few women?
I would say it's the pipeline, right? I mean, there is a lot of effort going on. One of the trends which I have seen in, we call it leaky pipeline at a certain level, certain stage, right? Which is when the major family changes or the bigger life-changing events happen, and that's when.
So you have enough to start off with, and then there is a leaky pipeline, or
yeah, we have enough to start off with, right? Because when we go to engineering colleges, we get, like last time when I hired our internship program, we had 60% females coming in that batch. So we have a good pipeline coming in at an engineering level, but the life-changing events, and there is this misconception which we need to continue to break, wherein the female team members feel they can't cope up with the amount of knowledge they have to acquire through the journey, right? Because as you grow in your individual contributor role, you have to continue to upskill yourself. And there are times when the female colleagues, they feel the fear of, I won't be able to stand by the same individual who is a male next to me and has spent more time learning. But I think that's the place where we have to make the flip and continue to make an effort to help them, not just by saying that's not the case, but also by helping them with right kind of tools and trainings. So I would say, yes, there is a leaky pipeline. Yes, we have a problem at a certain career stage, but there's enough which is happening at this stage. I'll just add one more thing, right? It's also a lot about what's in our head, right? What kind of support system we have, but what's in our head. How much of it can you endure, and how much of you say, you know what, let me just back off.
Okay, Lakshmi, you are an investor, right? Another investor like you told me once that, you know, we give all entrepreneurs, all startup people 30 minutes to make their pitch. And I find that, you know, I have to push the women to consume all the 30 minutes. You know, they are shy of talking about themselves. I had another interesting case, you know, after my book was released, somebody called me and she said, you know, she had an IIT, IIM and a major consultancy experience. And yet when she, you know, started her own business and she again, you know, pitched to some VCs, she put this background as point number 7 in her deck. And everybody laughed at her and said, you know, that, you know, the team, the founder, the team, their background, their experience is really what we back. And you should have put that up front. You know, given that of all the VC money that goes to startups, there's a minuscule amount that goes to startups with women founders. So what is it? I mean, is it our own self-doubt? Do we come through as weaker candidates? Or is it that, you know, we are underestimated by the system and people don't take women seriously? What's the truth?
So there are, I mean, obviously there's a lot that's changed over the decade when it comes to investing itself. A decade ago, there were just so few entrepreneurs to start with, and the pipeline itself is so different today. So we see so many inspiring women entrepreneurs. Even this morning we had, you know, Mr. Lag out here. So it has changed. I think what we see as the glass ceiling and why there are so few women at the top, even in the corporate world, is also because many women tend to drop out mid-career, right? And that's no different in entrepreneurship. So if I see 10 pitches, there might be at best 1. You know, I mean, if I scale to 100 pitches, there'll probably be 5 or 8, which are sole women founders. So that, I think, is the beginning of the problem. We see far fewer women who may not want to be entrepreneurs for a variety of reasons. It could be because they don't have the bandwidth to give what an entrepreneurial lifestyle requires, which is give it all for 4 or 5 years. It depends on where they are in their life journey, what they want to do. I think that is one of the primary problems as far as I see it.
What we're trying to encourage people to do.
Correct. Yeah. So I think that pipeline has to first increase. The second thing is, I think the mindset has shifted. Perhaps it might have been true in the past, but like I said, I've always left my gender outside the boardroom, so I've never felt that discrimination when I've presented or been on the side of an investor either. But to a large extent, I think the investors today are investing on the idea, on the entrepreneur. right? Are you solving a real problem? Is that problem scalable? And is this a team that I can back? So I think this is the criteria. The gender criteria has significantly dropped. There might be questions, like I think we heard in one of the other panels, even celebrities face certain questions about whether it is body, whether it is certain other discriminatory things. And there are certain questions about women, whether they will really carry forward the entrepreneurial journey, because their life happens. You know, what happens if someone gets pregnant? And, you know, 2 years maybe, they are not going to be able to give it all for that particular business. What's the backup plan? Perhaps that they have a strong team, that it doesn't matter if the founder has, you know, a situation. I mean, these are real problems, right?
You know, but
as an investor, that's what they're thinking
When men
about.
take a break for a hobby or, you know, do something like that, it's okay.
Yeah,
But when
it's
women,
a hobby.
I mean, yeah, but a maternity leave or bringing up children is part of life, isn't it? Why is it held against women?
Absolutely. My point wasn't that. My point is so much so that these are questions that might come up. As long as the team is strong and the entrepreneur has a plan, it doesn't matter what life events happen. It doesn't always have to be pregnancy, for example. It's a little bit more tuned to women, so I use that as an example. So, but this does come up sometimes, but it's reducing. I think the investors have also seen the transformation, seen that women are very ambitious, are perseverant. In fact, I have seen women who actually have, you know, surmounted all of these odds and done 10x more, because women, I think, tend to want to overachieve and overprove that that is not a hurdle in my life. So even if you're pregnant, you will probably work that extra 10 hours, which is not necessarily good for your health. We tend to do that. So I think the men have seen that, you know, women entrepreneurs have far more, so much by a woman. It was more driven by our life events going to take them away from this focus. That is, I think, one of the reasons which may have in the past. This is my theory. I cannot speak for all
Stories like
the men.
Nykaa and Mama Earth are going to help.
Many more, yes, and many
And
more are
change
going to be
perceptions
there.
and help encourage women.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. Nice. Ratna, let me ask you. You are from finance. Yes. And I think you're in a happier state than technology or manufacturing, because I think there are enough women, or rather better representation of women in HR and finance. But finance also requires a lot of upskilling, like you were saying. Yes. And you constantly need to be on top of your game. Yes. And that requires a lot of investment in terms of time and energy. And somehow there are a lot of women who seem to complain about burnout, or, you know, they are so burdened by the dual responsibility of work and home that they don't find enough time. Right. So how did you manage to do that, and what would you say to women? How do you find time to invest?
Right. See, you need to have your priorities very clear, and you need to see whether women or men, but definitely since we are talking about women, you need to have your goals, where you want to be and what you want to be, what you want to be seen as, you know, by your own organization, your management, and your entire network around you. So as long as you have that goal to be clear. For example, I'm a banker. I'm in the corporate banking, and, you know, so I manage a lot of corporate relationships. Me and my team manage relationships. So my first call of duty is actually to manage those relationships so well that Federal Bank becomes the first port of call for my client. It can be because of me, it can be because of organization, or it can be because of both of us. It has to be because of both of us. It's me, my team, and the bank, what we offer. So the client, any requirement client has, the Federal Bank becomes first port of call. How do I achieve that? So that is my goal. And how do I achieve that? I basically, what does my client want? My client want to know me to be their advisor. Means banking, of course, whatever tangible infrastructure, the service, all that we'll give. But what more the client looks is, you know, actually he wants me to maybe give him the market information. He wants me to advise, he or she, whoever it is, the client wants me to advise whether they are going in the right direction on their business. What
so
more
how
they
do you
can
keep in touch, and how do you keep updating your knowledge? How much investment do you need to make in yourself?
So how one source, of course, is our newspapers, public, you know, whatever is available in public domain. But what I do is I spend a lot of time with the CFOs and promoters, you know, who actually deal with us, even in my other outside circle also. Because These are the people who actually tell you what is happening in the industry, what is the next industry which is going to come up. And this is what is the information my CFO is or my client is looking at me. In fact, there are so many times I have few clients when I meet them, the promoters or CFOs. So Ratna, now you are, you are a banker. So tell me what should you think that business we should get into next? Yeah. So that is a very, and if I am not really able to answer that in a genuine and, and with an informative manner, but naturally, I don't become their preferred point of contact. And also in this context, I would like to add, I don't see that question coming a lot from women CFOs. Or, the number of CFOs, unfortunately, are very less. But the women whom I interact in my field, in the finance especially, I encourage everyone to have a more macro level thinking and a long-term thinking. Because I see most of these questions, in fact, there are some CFOs or there are some promoters who actually, call me for a cup of coffee only to know what is happening in the industry.
It's an effort to be on top of your game and you need to do it.
I think if women can also put in the same effort, I'm sure, we can actually scale.
Of course. Let me ask the superwoman.
Thank you.
A lot of times I find that women are very caught up in trying to please everybody around them. Keeping everybody happy. They don't want to rub any the wrong way. Is that something that comes in the way in the way you lead? And how do you see that? Is it important, do you think, to deliver or to please? Or do you want a happy team or do you want a performing team?
Okay, it's a very interesting question. I can tell you from day one since I started off, maybe I started my journey really early when I was 17, 18.
Oh, wow, that's an early start.
I was a plucky, cheeky kid who just decided that I'm going to come in and, own this industry, and I will at some point. But
tell us when you do it.
Sorry?
Tell us when you do it.
You'll hear about it when I do it. So,
count us in your friend
so
list.
people pleasing was never my agenda. It's something that I don't endorse because if you have to build a successful business or you have to be successful, all you need to do is make sure that you're winning all the time, and winning takes a lot of work. It does not take people pleasing. I've never towed the line. I've worked with a lot of powerful people. I've dealt with a lot of powerful people, men in boardrooms, and many, many situations that I've been part of for the last almost 12 to 15 years I've been working. And I've been known to be a rebel. My Twitter bio, in fact, reads "rebel without applause," because that's what I think I am. And that's why I don't believe in people pleasing. And that's where I think I have reached where I am. And I would tell every person in this room that if they want to get somewhere, or they have a dream, then they need to just look at making sure that they make the impossible dreams possible. And that can only happen by winning and working and not by people pleasing.
Sometimes when you chase your dreams like you were trying to do, you make your family unhappy, or you're really, going against the norm or the social expectations that people have. Have you faced a situation like that? Any challenges that way?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I was ambitious. I am ambitious. I think every woman should be. And, there's this entire conversation about work-life balance, which has happened, and it happens more for women. It never happens for men, if you see. I mean, men always seem to have it all, but it's always us that needs to have this work-life balance conversation that happens. And I know many people in this room will hate me for this, maybe some of them too, but I don't believe in work-life balance. I just feel that there is a time to work, and there is a time when you feel you want to enjoy your life, and if you want it both, then you get both 50-50. But if you want it all, then you have to choose what you want, and that's what I've chosen to do. And which is why my family understands that extremely, like when she said about the choice of being an entrepreneur. I mean, a lot of women in senior positions don't want to be an entrepreneur, like she's pointed out. It's because they don't want to give that kind of time and effort and maybe sacrifice a lot of their personal time. And it's not necessarily a woman. I think even for a man, it's the same. He's never home.
There are choices to be made,
The choice has to be made, and life is about choices.
But interestingly, I found that there seems to be a construct as far as women are concerned, that, somebody who is a successful person at work, people assume that she's probably not a good homemaker or a good mother. So it's a either or kind of a construct, not an and that somehow comes in the way. And I find that, even when I've asked women about role models, they feel that super successful women And people who are visibly there as successful women, they don't want to see them as role models, because they too assume that if she has made it to the top, then she mustn't have given enough time to her children. And that is something that is a very interesting construct.
Yeah, this is there, and actually it's a stereotype. And I feel life is all about breaking stereotypes.
Yeah.
That's what success is all about. I think every woman needs to choose what she wants to do. And yeah, I mean, if a woman is a successful role model, or she's reached somewhere, or she's a boss, which for a lot of people it's a negative connotation, because it's like being difficult, being aggressive, she wears the pants. Of course we wear the pants,
all these have negative connotations, right?
Yes,
They
do.
Loaded.
They do.
Yeah.
But yes, we wear the pants, but when we need to look good and wear a gown, we do that too. Do we get credit for that?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Okay, so let me get to you, Alpna. The batchmates in organizations like yours, the same batch, men and women start off at the same point. And then somewhere down the line, after a few career moves, the career graphs start looking very different. So what is your take on this?
Completely agree, Anita, and you have raised a very good point. I face this as well. Be it home or in office, men and women start together because we are not discriminated till the time we are pursuing our studies. And even thereafter also, it's not about discrimination. See, in my home itself, me and my husband, we are in similar field in finance, and we started our journey together, and he has more of information. That is what I found helps him to grow better. We as women don't network enough. So once we finish off our work, we think that that's enough, and we want to go back home and do our household work. So networking, I think, is one, because by the time I used to get some information through paper, some journals, some public domain, my husband already had, because he had friends who are CFOs talking to each other. So they get early information. As Ratna was telling, we as banker has been looked as advisors to the customers. So subsequently, like later in initial phase, I was just working for my performance and continuously thinking that the performance is enough. But subsequently, I came to know that it's only a percentage of the total package. So as I grew in the career, started talking to more and more people, spending time with CFOs, promoters, and in family also talking to the people more about the information available and not missing on networking opportunities. So that's a message to the women present here. I think networking.
I completely agree that, although there is a lot of unconscious bias in the system that goes against women, I think women themselves display a lot of behavior that limits their own growth, and they don't network enough, or they can't showcase their work or stake a claim to, you don't see women saying, why have I not got this promotion, or why have I not been included in this kind of a project, whereas I deserve to be there. You don't find women doing that, and a lot of times
we also downplay, yes.
Yes, and also in the name of work-life balance, we seem to choose softer options, softer assignments. And I think unless you've done the hard yards in the beginning, you don't really qualify to be, good candidates to be leaders. So I think there's work to be done everywhere, while, you need to kind of reduce the bias.
It's
Women
more
also
of
need to see themselves as equal. Yes. That is something like, Vidya was saying on the earlier panel. I completely agree. Vidya Balan said, I am not sure we even see ourselves as equals. What do you say?
So I will say there are two aspects, right? One is our grooming from the childhood, right? A lot of times it depends upon how you've been brought up. You have to look nice, you have to be nice, you have to please everybody, to your earlier question. There is another aspect which is about perfection. And my observation goes a little bit different way, right? When an opportunity surfaces itself and an option is given to a male and a female at the same time, what I have observed is that the female colleagues will end up giving it a thought. How will I do it? Maybe getting a little bit further out, thinking about how will I solve it, right? Versus, and then they will go and say yes. And by the time the same opportunity has been taken up by a male colleague of theirs. And this is where the change starts, right? Like, how much of risk will I take, which is calculated, and how much of the risk which I will take, which is not. And it happened with me at a point in time wherein I was given an opportunity. I had no clue how to do it. I said no. I came home and I told my husband, I'm like, you know what? There was this opportunity given to me and I've said no. And he's like, why? But I don't know head or tail of it. He's like, you are anyway planning to leave. You might as well leave after failing. Big deal about it. I'm like, makes sense. I went back and I asked the leader who was giving me that opportunity. I'm like, hey, is this still available? And she goes, yeah, it is. And I took it up and one thing led to another. So
maybe just dreaming big and having a little more confidence.
It's the courage.
To be able to, don't say I will bite only as much as I can chew.
Yeah, so I'll say it's the courage and a little bit about losing that aspect of perfection. I've seen a lot in my peers and in my team members wherein they go after perfection than making small progress, right?
Since we are kind of running out of time, I just want each one of you to say, one thing that, one bit of advice that you'd want to give young women today. What should they do to be successful and become leaders?
I would advise everyone to mean business, which is the title of this session. So as long as you are genuine, authentic, and you are doing your call of duty, whatever you are supposed to do, just don't think anything else. Rewards will automatically come over a period of time. This is my advice. Okay. Don't overthink.
Don't overthink. Okay.
That was actually what I was thinking. I would say be yourself. That's it. Be yourself. Don't try to be somebody else. And I think that just leads to...
And is that good enough to take you all the way? Okay.
I think so. But otherwise, you will be faking it.
Well, my advice would be dream big, dream impossible dreams, make them come true, be audacious, because that's something that a few women do, because they're very, very apologetic about asking for things. I think you should never be apologetic for who you are and what you bring on the table, because sometimes you buy the table, so you cannot be apologetic about it. You need to own it, and you need to also know what you're worth. What I see with many women, and especially young women when they're starting out, they're very, very scared to put a value to their worth. They always feel, no, maybe we're not worth it. I mean, come on, you're like L'Oreal, you're all worth it in this room. And every woman who's successful and wants to be successful needs to have that belief. There are times when you don't feel it, you can fake it. Fake it till you make it, but you will make it someday.
They say about women on boards, that, if you get a seat at the table, don't ask which seat, just grab it.
Yeah, or build a folding table, bring a folding table, just manage somehow.
Or be the table.
Yeah, be the table.
So my advice actually, I have two. One is always raise your hand, even if you don't know the ABC of it. I have seen so many times women refuse opportunities because they're like, I haven't done this before, like she mentioned earlier. But I've seen so many men, on the other hand, they would have no clue what to do, but if it's an opportunity that's going to get them visibility, they're the first to raise hands and they'll figure it out. And I'm sure that you can figure it out. So raise your hand and don't be afraid of failure, and don't let that be the reason you don't take up opportunities. And find a sponsor/mentor wherever you're working, if it's an organization. That is going to be very critical for you to understand, grow, and succeed in whatever you want to do.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
I would say follow your passion, be unapologetic. We are here because we deserve it. Our gender or our sexuality does not define us, and we have enough. Don't look for affirmations. If you it's fine you fail, but learn from the failures, go ahead, don't give up.
Yeah, I agree with you, Alpna, but I find women being slightly low on passion. Men are passionate about their work, their hobbies and things like that. I don't find women being that passionate. I don't know whether it's a fear that we may not be able to do it, or maybe we just don't have the luxury of doing that because of all the demands that are made on women. I don't know what it is. Anybody? Has any thoughts on that?
I would say if we are firm, things would fall in place.
Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you
I was
have
just going
take
to
your
add
shot.
that I think it's a 50-50. I've seen a lot of women who are very clear what they want. They go after it. And I guess passionate is a very strong word, but they're very committed to when they like something and they follow through.
Yeah,
So
there
just
is no
wanted
doubt
to-
about sincerity and commitment, but passion is something else.
I'd like to interrupt with just one short line, but I do believe that if you can't see it, you can't be it. So see it, believe that you'll make it, and just see it, and at one point you'll realize that you've done it.
And stop being so introspective. I find women to be extra introspective and self-critical so much that when it adds up to all this losing of opportunity. So I think just, like I said, I repeat, don't overthink. Just believe and go ahead and do whatever you want to do.
Okay,
Do your
nice,
best.
nice, thank you. Any questions? Yeah. The lady in red, yeah. Just 1 minute, she stood up first, we'll give you another chance. I hope we have time, yeah.
Hello, all the ladies. So my question is, I am in HR by profession and I'm in this industry since last 6 years. Mostly what happens is in an organization, we see a lot of work politics happening. And when a woman, so suppose if you are very, very much deserving and your boss praises you very often. So there is something which happens around you in your work environment where people try to pull you off by telling that maybe why this boss is favoring this particular woman. Why are you getting this kind of promotions? Is there something which is brewing between both of them? So how to deal with such kind of issues when you are really deserving and you get the chance, you get the opportunity, but still these things somehow it makes you that no, maybe something is brewing between both of them. So how to deal with these things?
Can I answer that?
Yeah, please.
In my favorite Priyanka Chopra's words, haters will hate, potatoes will potate, rotis will rotate. Who cares?
Absolutely
Just do it.
right. Absolutely, absolutely.
I think it's about the noise, right? Why do you have to focus on the noise? Because if you know that you've got it because of the hard work you have done, that noise will just come and go. I mean, I would again say, yes, it happens for females, it also happens for males. And there are different reasons given for different types of the water cooler conversation, as you may say it, right? But I agree. I mean, there's no need to spend your energy and time in something which is not worth it. Why?
Yeah, a lot of times in life and in your career, you are going to require a thick skin. So the earlier you develop it, the better it is. Because so many people have this way of making you feel inadequate, uncomfortable, not right, then apart from the self-doubt that women themselves have. Yes. And sometimes women can be their own enemies. So thick skin is what I would say.
First of all, thank you to all the inspirations to us and to all of us also. And I have got so much punchlines for me to absorb in my mind and to repeat it day by day. I belong to a health sector. So I just want to ask you, you are looking gorgeous and beautiful. How you maintain your beauty and your health? Anyone else? Anybody? What is the आपकी खूबसूरती का राज क्या है?
See, I think health definitely is a universal subject and not really only for women, but women definitely because of our own maybe responsibilities and all, we tend to lose focus on it.
Sure.
So it's just that you have to be conscious about it, you have to feel responsible for yourself. And like somebody said in today's, one of the speakers, that if you are happy, I think the soldier mentioned actually, if you are happy, then you make others happy. So same thing applies here. If I am healthy, I'll keep my entire network around me healthy.
Yeah.
So I think it's about mental peace or mental state, right? Health comes if you're, you can try as much going to the gym as possible if you're not mentally at peace. So you have to figure out what's your unwind method. Sure. Each of us have our own ways to unwind, and that's where it goes, right? What makes you feel
about
at peace?
investment. I think it's a huge investment that you need to make in yourself and prioritize yourself, your life, your career, your health. Have something to say? Yeah? Yes. Come, run up, more energy.
Thank you so much. Yeah, my name is Chaitali Chattopadhyay. I am a host. Discussion, it was very inspiring and motivation. And first of all, and I have got so many answers from the entire discussion is about the professional field. I am a homemaker, but I could find many questions about myself. So I would like to want that in this 2023, the theme is Women's Day is the digital innovation and technology for gender equality. So my question is that it's important for a homemaker to develop and educate the modern technology and how the homemaker who is entirely engaged, I mean the 24 hours engage herself as a homemaker, how could she develop the modern technology and to, you are developing your industry. But I believe, I believe how could I develop my family, my society? So my question is that.
I can give an example. So, I mean, this is a personal story, right? We are 3 sisters, and when my parents became empty nesters, that's when my mom started writing stories. Think about the age of 50 plus, she started writing stories. And she figured out a way to getting published, right? And she was getting published in Hindustan Press and few other magazines. She was sending this through handwritten mails, right? And she will write the story, she'll send it via, my dad will post it and it will go. At a point in time, we realized when it was getting published more often, we said, you know what? I think it's high time you start learning a little bit of technology and you start using emails. We still today are on tech support for her, but she's using computer from last 8-9 years. She's sending her stories. She's doing live streaming now. So I don't think that's a challenge. Think about a 60-70-year-old woman who has never seen or done computer in her life using that like a boss. So
absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, so I would say learning never stops, interdependencies never stop. That's not a challenge. The challenge is, I think it goes back to your point, it's the passion, right? She had a passion for it, she went ahead and did it. So
amazing.
That's
amazing. Technology can be a huge enabler. Yeah. So big round of applause for our panel.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and one for the audience as well.
I said don't go just now. I was listening carefully from the wings, taking a little break for my throat. It was a fascinating conversation, and we've been talking so much about leadership, and one of the things I love about this festival is the kind of mashup of different kinds of women and men from different walks of life that take place on this stage. So what I'm going to ask all 6 of you to do is first please stand up if you can, and I want all 6 of you to honor a community leader who went from being somebody who taught herself how to write in mud. She was an illiterate woman, a farmer, a farmer's wife. She used to do daily wage labor. She'd never been educated, and she educated herself. And she was telling me that मुझे कुछ नहीं पढ़ना लिखना आता था. मैंने मिट्टी में लिख के अपना नाम लिखना सीखा. And I thought we'll hear from her in a moment. But we've been giving these awards all day. The HER Award, Hope, Empower, Rise. And I think it would be befitting if all 6 of you were to felicitate Sarmi Bai, a community leader who never went to school, but ended up being a community leader who shook hands with Barack Obama. Can we please put our hands together for Sarmi Bai? आइए आगे आ जाइए. Can I ask all of you to come here? Sarmi Bai, आगे आ जाइए. Not going. Come now. So these are really the moments we live for on this stage. And I am going to just ask all the ladies here to felicitate Sarmi Bai ji. Come. Can we have a big round of applause for Sarmi Bai and all these wonderful women? एक सवाल मैं पूछूंगी. Please, everyone come. Yeah. कम एवरीबडी कम। एक सवाल, बहुत लीडरशिप के बारे में बातचीत पूरा दिन हो रहा है, आप कैसे बन गए लीडर? ये आप हम सबको सिखाओ।
ठीक, मैं पूरी बात बताऊँ आपको। मैं लीडर ऐसे बन गई थी कि मतलब शुरू में लोग बहुत रोकने वाले थे कि मैंने पहले से बताया था कि मैं शादी के बाद की बात बताऊं कि मैं वार्ड पास बनी थी 2005 में। सबसे मतलब मैंने वार्ड पास बन के एक हैंगर प्रोजेक्ट के साथ में मैं 3 दिन का करके कार्यशाला किया। उससे मैं मुझे लीडरशिप का मतलब
मैं इनको बता रही थी कि आप मिट्टी में अपना नाम लिख के कैसे आप पढ़ना लिखना सीखे।
मैं मिट्टी पे नाम लिखना सीख रही थी और फिर कागज पे। उसके बाद मैंने साक्षरता से 5वीं की, उसके बाद 8वीं की, अभी इस साल मैंने 10वीं पास की।
That is a fabulous story. That's amazing. बहुत congratulations. A big round of applause to all our panelists. Sarvi bhai, आप stage पे रहिए. Thank you very much, ladies. Thank you. Thank you. Come. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure meeting you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Come. Thank you.